Marissa Higgins' A Good Happy Girl is a psychologically intense literary novel that explores trauma, desire, and the longing to be good in the aftermath of familial harm. Centered on Helen, a 30-something lawyer living in Boston, the novel follows a woman whose outward markers of success mask deep emotional instability and unresolved guilt. Through Helen's voice, Higgins examines how childhood neglect, inherited shame, and the search for care shape adult intimacy, particularly within queer relationships and unconventional forms of desire. Helen works as a low level attorney, but her professional life offers little satisfaction or meaning. Instead, she seeks connection through behaviors that blur boundaries between intimacy, punishment, and performance. She live streams her feet online for money and engages in emotionally charged sexual relationships that mirror her internal sense of unworthiness. These choices are not presented as mere rebellion or self-indulgence, but as coping mechanisms rooted in a long history of neglect and moral confusion. Helen is acutely self-aware, often analyzing her own actions even as she continues to repeat harmful patterns. The central relationship of the novel begins when Helen becomes involved with Catherine and Katerina, a married lesbian couple she meets through an erotic roleplay app. Their relationship quickly moves beyond fantasy into something more emotionally entangled. Helen explicitly asks the women to mother her meanly, signaling her desire for care that is inescapable from discipline, control, and pain. As the relationship develops, the couple become a site where Helen's deepest wounds surface. What begins as consensual sexual exploration gradually exposes Helen's yearning to be seen, corrected, and forgiven, needs that were never met in childhood. Helen's family history forms the emotional backbone of the novel. Her parents are incarcerated for the severe neglect and abuse of Helen's grandmother, who was left close to death in their care. This crime casts a long shadow over Helen's life, leaving her burdened by shame and responsibility she does not know how to release. Compounding this trauma in the lingering mystery surrounding Helen's younger brother, whom she suspects died as a result of similar neglect. Conversations with her imprisoned father hint at this possibility but never provides clarity, forcing Helen to live with unanswered questions and suppressed grief. Her father's request that she write a character statement for his parole becomes a painful moral dilemma, tying together love, resentment, and the desperate need for truth. Interspersed throughout the novel are Helen's visits to her grandmother, now living in a nursing home. These scenes are quieter and more tender than much of the rest of the book, offering moments of fragile connection and care. They stand in stark contrast to Helen's sexual relationships and self-destructive impulses, highlighting the kind of gentleness she craves but struggles to accept for herself. Thematically, A Good Happy Girl is deeply concerned with the concept of goodness. Who gets to be considered good, and whether goodness can survive inherited guilt. Helen is haunted by the fear that she is irreparably tainted by her parents' actions, and much of her behavior reflects an unconscious desire to be punished or corrected. The novel also explores queer desire with frankness and complexity, presenting sexuality not as liberating by default, but as something that can both heal and harm, depending on the emotional structures beneath it. Trauma, particularly the way it embeds itself in the body and in desire, is depicted as cyclical and difficult to escape. Higgins' first-person narration places the reader directly inside Helen's restless, obsessive mind. The prose is intimate, often uncomfortable, and deliberately unsparing. The novel is less concerned with traditional plot progression than with psychological excavation, asking the reader to sit with ambiguity rather than resolution. By the end, A Good Happy Girl does not offer redemption in a neat or moralistic sense. Instead, it presents survival as ongoing, messy, and uncertain. Ultimately, A Good Happy Girl is a challenging and provocative novel about the longing to be cared for in a world that has failed to provide safety. Through Helen's story, Marissa Higgins interrogates how love, shame, and desire intertwine, and whether it is possible to imagine oneself as worthy of happiness after a lifetime of neglect.